Oh, it's live.
Happy New Year from the Good Old Fashioned Dislike podcast, where dynasties never die and hate is an extreme word, but just barely. This episode is brought to you by Collision Auto Repair Services in Killen, Alabama. Football is a collision sport. Driving your car should be. When your car suffers from unnecessary roughness, be sure to call Collision Auto Repair Services at 256 272 2007. Fellas, it's good to see you. Good to be talking a little football. It could be a little bit better. I don't know if it could be better for Blake, but I know
we're 6 and 7. So
there you go. So we're generally kind of probably in the same boat. Not quite as interested in this game as we might have been had there been a different turnout. But we'll talk about all of that stuff and get to our pick 'em and all that good stuff. But first of all, Will, you're currently in the lead on this bad boy because you were the only panel member that went with Washington in the second game. And so you lead at 6-3 through bowl season. That would put Ben Hayes at second at 5-4. Blake and Josh isn't with us. They're both at 4-5. And then I somehow, after the Texas Tech win, did not win another single pick 'em. So sorry, fellas, I let y'all down. And so I'm sitting at the bottom basement, 2-7. But I do have hope as we will pick up with the NFL playoffs and through March Madness to still win that jersey. And so I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, we'll get there. But Will, you're obviously the expert on bowl season. So take us through those semifinal games. What you thought? What are your thoughts on? Obviously, the Rose Bowl probably isn't great, but we'll let you go first, man. You've earned the right.
Yeah, I'm still rolling with the Tide. I think somehow if Michigan wins, we find some connection to Michigan. If Washington wins, we'll find some connection to Washington.
Do you think they'll vote to put us into the national championship game even though we lost?
Wouldn't be the first time they've got in over an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. So
just throw us in there again. Give us another shot.
I think for me, and I think I said this on the last broadcast, was the Pac-12 after dark, staying up late actually paid off because watching old Michael Penix Jr. and the wide receivers he's got just went ham.
Slinging that thing.
And I think Blake said in our text group, it was kind of a throwback to Tua and the crew that he had at Alabama. It's just they were going nuts. I think Texas's secondary was probably not as good as what everybody maybe thought they were going to be. But I thought Texas's line would do more than what they did. And I guess they still had a shot to win it, at the end of the game. So, two pretty exciting games. I think Michigan surprised a lot of people with just bull rushing us, like crazy.
No answers.
And so to me, this sets up to be a pretty interesting matchup because, I think Michigan definitely got a better defense than Texas. I think we saw that. But, I think Washington's got better wide receivers than probably Alabama does. And definitely the passing game is a whole lot better at this point. So maybe the battle of strengths and weaknesses here, and I really have no idea how it pans out. Because, Penix almost set the record. The only person that's beat him in passing yards in a ball game was Joe Burrow with the 2021 or 2019 team. Because he threw for like 440 yards, and I think Burrows threw for like 490. So, it's a prolific offense. And even at times, what impressed me was Penix Jr. was able to scramble outside and still make just some impressive throws. So if he's able to scramble and get away from, the rush of Michigan and give those guys some time, I think Washington's got a real fighting chance here. I don't think very many people are going to go with Washington. So
I think the line's like 4.5 or 7.5 or something like that. It was pretty high.
Michigan.
Yeah. I think they're.
I think the display of Michigan's defense definitely turned some heads, especially against what a lot of people thought as Alabama being, one of the stronger, I guess, size-wise up front. I think that really impressed a lot of people. Now, we'll never know if O'Connor Stallion over in the stands was giving Harbaugh, some clues, but
I hope he was.
We'll see what happens. I'm sure he'll have a third, fourth row seat on the 50 in NRG down there.
So you're going with Washington?
I haven't decided yet. Do I have to decide?
Yeah, you're
at
the first
moment?
pick. You got to pick.
I want to still talk. Well, I will say Josh is rolling with Washington, and he agrees with Blake on the Tua, the lefty, slinging it all over. And so Josh Thorne, we'll go ahead and let him make our first pick of the evening, and he's rolling with the Huskies on that.
I think since I won or I'm leading at the moment, I should be able to go last.
No, I think you go.
No, I think that's the opposite, honestly.
Yeah, but I don't want the honors. Give me.
I mean, honestly, save it to the end. We'll go back around, but we will be coming back to you first, Will, and I get to go last because
we get to all talk about it.
I need to see what Ben picks so that I can
do the opposite.
And so Jeff Tabner jumps on, says he's never going to root for Michigan and a hairball. I like that. That's good stuff. So he's going with the Huskies. And he also says, and we want to say the same, happy birthday, Will. We hope it's been a good one. I'm not hoping that you win the jersey, but nonetheless, happy birthday, bro.
17 years ago, it was a great birthday because Saban landed in Tuscaloosa and the tide changed. So I was walking up to the gym and we got a notification that Saban had become the coach of Alabama. So, what better birthday present as a 17-year-old,
Amen. All right, Ben, what you thinking about those semifinals, bro?
Man, I'm a lot of the same thoughts. I mean, Michigan did surprise me a lot. I was worried about the game. I always am. Will's over here like, oh, we're going to win by 14 points. And I kept thinking, there was just – I felt like we were overlooking some things. Bama played sloppy at times, but Michigan was just great. And, they played really well. There was some opportunities.
Special teams weren't.
I was about to say, yeah. Special teams almost got us a chance, there at the end. But it was heartbreaking. But the defense of Michigan is solid. I don't know about their offense if it can keep up with Washington's offense. Washington's offense is going to score. I don't think there's any way you're going to hold them out. I read an article today that said Pac-10 was the best conference in the nation, and I was thinking, I don't know, but the way Washington played, they said, or Pac-12.
Pac-12.
Yeah, they were saying Pac-12 was the best in the nation. Yeah. Sorry, and so they did have a couple of good teams. I don't know if they're the best overall, but Washington looked solid, and I was really surprised at how they handled Texas as well as they did. So
it seems like Washington
offense versus defense. I mean, on those two sides of the ball, I don't know how good Washington's defense is.
Yeah.
So that's the.
It's hard because it seems like Washington won by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
but theoretically, they don't have a very good athletic DB there, then they probably lose.
The score was closer than the game was.
Yeah. Well, that's true. What are your thoughts?
I always like to try to find games and teams to compare with. I think Michigan is very similar to the Oregon team that Washington has played twice and beaten twice. Dan Lanning out in Oregon, they played tough defense. And they had a pretty good offense with Bo Nix leading, and I see a ton of comparisons and similarities between Oregon and Michigan. Now, we know Oregon didn't win as many games as Michigan did, obviously, but I think their style of play is very similar. And based off of that, I think it's going to be the same old song and dance. I think Washington is they're just going to outscore them. I don't necessarily see it being a shootout, but I don't think Michigan's defense is going to be able to hold up just like no other team has been able to hold up over 4 quarters, because Michael Penix, it does not matter if he's in the pocket, if he's rolling, he's
accurate.
He is very accurate. He's just like Tua. He had great wide receivers, but man, he puts that thing on a dime every time, and is the left-handed, his throwing motion. Reagan, my wife, she was talking about how he gets the ball out so fast, and his throwing motion. Typically you have the long wind up with the lefty, kind of similar to Tim Tebow was back in the day. But Penix, it's like he barely gets the football to his ear, and that ball is out. And so I don't know if I can go ahead and make my pick here, but I'm going to go with Washington based on the fact that they can score. They've not been out of a game all year long. I think if they're within 7 to 10 points at any time during the game, then they've got just as good a chance as any to come back and win the thing.
Awesome. Well, there has been a lot in the last, how long has it been? 48 hours. A lot of people who have told me they don't know anything about football without telling me they don't know anything about football. So from this proves that Florida State should have been in. And I'm like, how? 63-3. We took the number 1 team to overtime. Like, literally, we took them to overtime. Like, there is a time and place where you go, you know what? I may want to set this one out. And this is your time, Florida State. It's time to set it out, bro. Like, 63-3. The worst beating in college football history. Worse than TCU. Like, with Jordan Travis, you got an argument. I got it. If you played Georgia remotely in their atmosphere, you got an argument. You didn't. Muschamp's son is out there picking up first downs on you. The dude hadn't played a down all year, right? Muschamp's a defensive coordinator, and his son's a quarterback, and he's beating your rear end. Come on. You got to give me something here. Alabama fans, lay off McLaughlin. My goodness. Yes. He blew it up. It was terrible. But at the end of the day, he's a human being. Like,
college age.
Give me a break. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, calm your rear end down. You need to calm down. Everybody calm down. May 12-2 always be a down year. But stop being so spoiled, right? Like,
yes.
Go ask me in September after that USF game, and I'm thinking we might win 7 games. But we beat all of our rivals. Sorry, Blake. We knocked off the Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta. We made the playoff. We overachieved so much. Now here's the negative. Like, Michigan tried their best to give you that game, and you didn't take it. You didn't take it. Like, how many special team terribleness do you have to do? Washington will beat that rear end for you. You fumble those balls, you do all that stuff that Michigan did the other night, and Washington will beat the brakes off of you. And I'm here for it, right? And to go ahead and start the picking for the playoffs in the national championship, let's just go ahead and get it started. I'll throw it out there. Like, if the one thing the NCAA has been consistent in is that cheaters always win, right?
That's it.
Cheaters always win. And so I text those guys. I don't know if it was the dislike text group or not there, Blake, but I said everything football-wise in my body says that Alabama should win this game. But they're not. But I just feel like they're not going to. And you saw it. Like, it was the weirdest thing. But a lot of it's experienced quarterback play, right? I love me some Jalen Milroe. I think his ceiling is really high. I don't know if he's going to win a Heisman. I don't even know that he'll finish at Alabama in the area of the transfer portal. I have no clue. Like, I love me some Jalen Milroe. There wasn't anybody else I wanted under center the other night. But J.J. McCarthy as a fifth-year senior, or whatever year he is, Penix as a seventh year. I don't know if he's actually seventh year, but, like, that makes a difference. And I think that these guys are on an even playing field. And I'm going Michigan because, like I said, the NCAA is pretty consistent on the fact that cheaters always win. So Somehow, some way, they're going to pull it out. They're going to win.
Yeah.
And 10 years from now, it'll probably be they'll be punished. They'll lose all these wins, and it won't matter because.
And then here comes the Tide to claim the national championship, mate.
I wished it worked that way.
That's how it works.
Oh, it does work that way.
So I'm going Michigan just because cheaters always win with the NCAA, and I also somehow got to climb out of the basement. So I'm going Michigan as your national champions. All right, Will, you're up on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, the Michigan pick makes a lot of sense to me. I just can't get over Harbaugh and his glasses. He kind of looks like a cartoon character when they zoom in on his glasses.
Did you see his dad?
Yeah, they all
like his dad.
Get an image.
Exactly like.
They just reprinted
the
DNA.
I do think that Harbaugh ends up headed to the NFL come Tuesday, regardless of what happens Monday night. I think he's gone. And then I'll be real curious to see if Brian Kelly jumps ship and goes to Michigan. So that may be my hot take of the year. But give me Grady Gross and the Washington Huskies. He's the field goal kicker, if y'all didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
And he hit it was a walk-on, hit the game winner against Washington State. They ran in the locker room, and then they gave him a full scholarship. So awesome. Based off Michigan's special teams, I think games like this come down to the three phases, and Michigan showed us that phase 3 for them stinks. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. I get, special teams is interesting, but it's like they stunk on every level of special teams. Like it wasn't even – I guess they handled kickoff returns decent, but good gracious. So, I felt like I was watching Alabama, watching them kick. I was nervous for the kid as he was going. So, give me Washington and Penix Jr. and hot take, Penix Jr. got snubbed out of the Heisman. So, we're
throwing it down tonight on the dislike, everybody. Throwing it down.
If they voted for the Heisman today, he would win.
He would win. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went Michigan. Will went Washington.
Yep.
Blake went Washington. And I'll be honest, if I'm really going deep down, I want to go with the hot quarterback. I want to go with the difference maker. Yep. But I'm going with Michigan. As I said, cheaters always win in the NCAA. And, I got to get out of the basement somehow, and it might as well start with a natty. All right, Ben.
I'm tempted to always say, defense wins championships. I think generally that has been true at times, but I'm not sure about the pass defense of Michigan as much as I am the run defense. I think they've got it. They also wore down with Alabama, or Alabama figured out something because they weren't quite as, good in the second half as they were in the first half. And so I think if Penix starts throwing the ball around and starts wearing them down, I think second half, I'm not saying they'll run away with it, but I think that he'll wear them down and they'll end up winning. I'm going to go Washington Huskies. I have a Husky. Might as well go that way too. But, give the W to the W.
The interesting part for Washington is their starting running back did get hurt at the end of the game. And he was in a boot as soon as the game was over. So wonder how that, that could play into it a little bit. But I didn't want to tip Ben off, with that information.
Washington also has the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line. And if Alabama's tearing holes in you and running the ball, the Joe Moore award winners will do the same. As we wrap up the college football season here on the good old-fashioned dislike, like I said, we got the NFL kicking up, all that good stuff. I want to first of all thank you guys, as in the panel, all of you listening to making this podcast the #1 football podcast on Good Pods. And so that goes to everybody who's listening. I want to give you guys a chance. Golden dislike, your personal golden dislike for the college football season. If you want to do that, I get to do one every week. You guys get to do one for the season. So I'm not going to edit this. So, Blake, if you want to.
I'm on Facebook, right?
So much going on. So it's out there for everybody.
Blake, what's your golden dislike?
Kind of caught me on the spot here.
You want me to give one? Okay, I'll give one. Mine is just people losing their minds about college football in general. Like, I love it. I love screaming at the TV. I love my blood pressure going up, all that kind of stuff. But, okay, like the way some people are on, like you were talking about earlier, getting on the snapper, getting on, all of these kids. They're kids. I mean, they legitimately are still adolescents. And the way people lose their mind about it. And, like we've joked about letting them affect our moods, letting these college age kids affect our moods, and letting, like I would never I can't imagine ever betting on college kids because like, there was all kinds of reasons why I would have bet for Alabama in the game, and I would have thought Texas in the game, and completely wrong. And I picked Washington, but I have no idea what's going to happen next Monday. And just to even try to bet on something, and it's just like we put a whole lot of stock and a whole lot of emphasis on something that's ultimately not that important. So that would be my dislike: is have fun with the game, cheer on the teams, have some hate for your rivals or whatever. But like, I guess leave the personal stuff out of it. I guess that's my golden dislike. Like, I can still be friends with Blake at the end of the day. Whether he still likes me, I don't know. But I still like him at the end of the day.
The text group we have is pretty wild, right? But there's stuff in there and stuff I see on Facebook that I would never, ever, 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 ever say. And like, there are people out there who, in my personal opinion, and I did it when I was in my 20s. So like, I got some age on me, which helps. And there are a lot of things I want to say that I don't say because I love my wife.
Good thing you didn't have social media.
Yes, I'm so thankful for that. And so it's like, don't hurt your witness. I mean, like, most importantly, like, it's very easy for people to look at me and go, man, that guy likes football too much. And I love football. I love the game of football. But let's go back to the Iron Bowl. That kid muffs that punt. You know who I'm thinking about? That kid for like a solid week. Like, there is nobody that feels worse than that kid. Seth McLaughlin. There is nobody who feels worse than that guy, right? And that's part of being a coach. I think about these kids, and once again, there are tons of stuff that's written about both those guys that I chuckled and went, that's funny. Even if it hurts my feelings, that's funny. But man, like, I gotta leave a place because I botched a play. That's rough. But it happens. It's life. It's part of it. Will, Blake?
I think there is one group that should be yelled at, and that would be the Zebras. All right? Like, here's my
thing to get yelled at.
Here's my thing. One, you've made the decision, right? They're always getting paid. But for goodness sake, if it is like a huge call in a game, or if a certain team has the ball and they're about to run into the end zone, stop calling some ticky-tacky penalty 40 yards away. Like, just let it go. That's why in basketball, when there's under 5 seconds, if it's marginal, we don't call it. Swallow the whistle and let it be decided on the field.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
Well, I was actually really excited the other night because I didn't feel like either one of those games the other night had anything to really balk about with the officials. Like, I mean, you had the running into the kicker. That was a deal. They complained about it. Michigan, I'm sure, complained about a few calls. Texas, the end of the game, I guess that last pass into the end zone, I saw a couple of people, saying there was some pass interference there. But, I mean, generally speaking, I didn't feel like it was overwhelming, like some official blew a call. But through the season, it wasn't just Alabama. I mean, there was just some bad officiating. There's been some in the NFL too this year.
Well, that's like, I mean, I get it. Like, no ref in his right mind was going to throw any penalty on 4th and 31. Well, I mean, they just weren't. And I think, I think at some point there comes down to it. If it is a penalty, you call it. But like, if it's just going to change everything, just let it ride. You've missed 10 or 12 calls already. You could probably call a penalty on every single play. So, I mean, like, just don't have this big miraculous makeup call or shut something down.
It's a good point, Jeff.
I would agree. I'd agree with Ben. I think it was called fairly even. The Caleb Downs interception to begin. Like, I still how in the world did you look at that and come up with the fact that he didn't catch that ball? I'm kind of lost on that. You might have called the holding on Burton down there in overtime, but I would much rather err on. You may look at it and go, man, they should have thrown a flag on 4th and 31. Well, I mean, you could look at that Burton thing, but when it comes down to the end of the game, like, I would almost encourage my guys, hold them, make them throw that flag. I mean, and most guys aren't going to. They're just not going to. They're going to let you play it out. And so, as far as the Rose Bowl is concerned, I don't have any complaints on officiating. I thought they let them play, let the athletes do their thing. Jeff, my dislike is the transfer portal and NIL. They're ruining college sports. I agree with Travis. These are kids, and you feel for them at times, but now they are getting paid to play. So I think that has really opened the players up to more criticism, and I think that's absolutely true. I think it has, and they're semi-pro, and so absolutely, and I don't think Jeff's coming out and going, we should give them death threats, but from a football analytical standpoint, absolutely, and I guarantee you, Nick Saban has covered that 1,000 times, and it makes you think, like, did we have any centers on the field on the team other than that one? But it's a 2-part deal. You got to get the snap, that's first, and then block the guy. So I guess we didn't have somebody that could do one or the other. And but anyways, that's a good comment there, Jeff. Blake.
All right, so I'm going to go a little off the cuff here. I'm going to give you 2 golden likes, and then I'll finish with my golden dislike.
I like it.
Golden like number 1, my best bud Will and our families went out to California, and we got to see the Auburn at Cal Berkeley game, and it was just a really cool trip, a cool, different experience. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a Pac-12 stadium. I mean, it's a different atmosphere.
No tailgating.
There's no tailgate. It's more formal, I guess. It's in the middle of a little city, kind of on the side of a hill, and it was just a cool atmosphere. So I'll give Cal, a golden like there. Also, I'll give a golden like to, even though 4th and 31 was awful to swallow, Alabama beating Auburn, getting to the SEC championship, beating Georgia, knocking them out of the national championship, and then Alabama getting beat by Michigan, getting them out of the national championship, and LSU wasn't there anyway. So it's just like we hit the trifecta: Alabama, Georgia, and it was the LSU. None of them won the national championship. So I'll take the golden like. My golden dislike.
Alabama was going to get into that like somewhere.
Yeah. My golden dislike, and Travis, he's on the other side, and that's completely fine, but that's what makes things fun, is Florida State not getting in. I know they didn't have their quarterback. I get it. But you punished 100 other kids on that team who were awesome. I mean, they've got first-round draft picks on that team in other positions. Now, their third-string quarterback, he's not great. We all know that. They probably would have lost if all of those players would have played against Georgia and they didn't have half their team opt out. It wouldn't have been 63-3. It might have been 35-0 or 35-3, but it wouldn't have been 60. So that's my golden dislike. That's just for me personally. I know it may not be a popular opinion. That's fine. But I just think you have to decide deserving, best team. I know they have a job to do. They did it. That's fine. But I just think Florida State getting snubbed was my dislike of the year for me.
And even as a Bama fan, I felt terrible for the kids.
Leave Michigan at home. They cheated. We know they cheated. They got busted. You leave Michigan at home, let Florida State in, I'll be the happiest cat in the world. Like, I'm totally on that train. I'm not against Florida State. I'm against the idea that Alabama cheated and got in. Leave Michigan at home. Cheaters, pumpkin eaters, eating your curves and ways. I just put 2 things together. I don't know, guys. Did y'all hear the explanation on the Downs interception? Stacy's asking. I don't
think
know.
Didn't he step on the line?
So
I think that was
illegal
his
touching
toe
or
was
something.
on the.
his heel was on the line when he jumped up to catch the ball, and so you can't
that was
be
what it was. Yeah.
you can't be the first person back inbounds to touch a ball
Illegal touching.
unless
They
you
do that to the defensive. I knew that was offensively.
Yeah. That's what the guy.
Defensively, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's a stupid rule. But anyways, I was wondering because I was like, he clearly had possession of that ball. What are we doing?
Yeah, the
No.
the side judge threw the hat as soon as he saw him jump. So
You learn something new every day.
I was thinking there was another call that the toe was right on the line, but I couldn't remember.
that
what
was
it was.
that was LeBron James hitting
Well,
the
I don't watch
three
NBA. I
tying
don't
it.
care.
All these
Guys,
football-
the next time we get the panel of dislike together, it'll be Super Bowl. And so, man, I just appreciate you guys, Blake. Appreciate you hanging in there with us, Bammers. I know we can be a handful, but we love you. Love you guys. You're awesome. Thanks for putting up with all my text messages. And once again, thankful to all of you out there who listen every week during football season, and we'll keep it coming throughout the NFL. We won't do spring football. I'm sorry. Just not going to do it. But, we'll get some March Madness action. But, guys, I appreciate it, and we'll talk at you again later.
I